Space, the final frontier. This is the tutorial to stretch the USS Enterprise. Continuing the channel's mission to explain strange new techniques, seek out clever workarounds, and to boldly stretch like no one has stretched before. Hey, and welcome to Making FX. In my recent VFX history video, I broke down how ILM's John Knoll developed a 3D version of Slitscan, using it to stretch the Enterprise for a shot where it enters warp speed. In this video, I'm going to show you a shortcut that allows you to get the same results without the labour-intensive long exposure process. First things first, we need a model of the Enterprise, and I got this cool one by Haughty Grey Alien from Sketchfab. And when I add it to my comp, I'll leave it as is, but I will go to Layer, New, Null Object. Make it a 3D layer, hit enter and rename it to Enterprise Null. And parent the model layer to the 3D null. Then I'm going to switch to the top view in the comp window, and I'll move the Enterprise model down until the back end of the model lines up with the null. If I now return the view to active camera, I can rotate the null object and swing the D round by its tail. But if I now tap S to reveal the scale keyframes and uncheck the link icon, watch what happens as I adjust the Z scale. The ship stretches from the back. So next, it's a case of setting up the animation timing. I'll set keyframes on the null for position. And I'll set a keyframe for the scale when I want the stretch to begin. A second later, I got my timings from the TV show, I'll move the null along its Z gizmo to shift the ship off into the distance. And I'll set another keyframe for the scale. Then, about 5 frames after the first scale keyframe, I'll ramp up the scale to 2500%. And I'll select the position keyframe here, and right click and choose Keyframe Assistant Easy Ease Out. And the second set of keyframes, I'll hold down Alt and tap on the right square bracket key to trim the object in Null. And that's the trick. The devil is in the details, and we can now add some embellishments that will improve the shot. I cannot add effects directly to the model, but I can use the calculations effect to make a copy of it. So I'll go to Layer, New, Solid. And name it Calculations. Then go to Effect, Channel, Calculations. And set the second layer to the Enterprise, its opacity to 100%, and the blending mode to copy. If I solo this layer, you'll see we have a copy. But I'll now change the second layer opacity to blue, so that we only get anything that's blue coming through as grayscale. Then I'll go to Effect, Keying, Extract. And I'm going to use this effect to isolate the warp nacelles, in order to reproduce the flash to white. In the TNG series, this was done to hide a cut from the big 6-foot model to the smaller 2-foot Enterprise. But it still looks cool. I'll drag the black point up and the white point down until I've isolated mainly the nacelles. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to add a glow, and recently I've been using Creation Effects free Afterglow preset. About half a second before the warp stretch starts, I'm going to trim the calculations layer by holding Alt and tapping left square bracket. Then I'll set keyframes for the radius, intensity and opacity. And change the glow based on to alpha channel. At the point the warp stretch starts, which you can snap to by holding Shift and scrubbing, from here I'll increase the radius from 15 to 20, the intensity to 5, and the opacity to 50%. Then, by the stretchiest bit of the sequence, drop the values down to 0. But let's now return to the calculations effect and set some keyframes for the second layer opacity to fade all this in and out. All that's needed now is the warp flash. In the original series, this was done by fading up a light behind a scratch piece of acrylic. I recreated this in my other VFX history video about the effects in the series, but rather than have you damage a CD case like I did, at the point where you want the warp flash to begin, use the ellipse tool with no layer selected and draw an ellipse, holding down Shift and Control to get a circle, right over where the Enterprise is heading. Expand it on the timeline and delete the stroke. And set the fill to white. Then, using the tiny Add menu, add a wiggle paths. Drop wiggles per second to 0 and set the detail to about 20. Then use the pick whip to link the size to the ellipse path size, but edit the expression to include a divide by 2. I'm going to use the Shape Layers Transform options to reduce the width, so that it is more of an ellipse. If I drew an ellipse instead of a circle to begin with, the spikes wouldn't be as pronounced. So as I keyframe the size, the wiggles or spikes will grow in proportion. Now, keyframe the size so that it grows to cover the Enterprise disappearing, then slowly fades out. At the point where it's at its largest, right-click on the keyframe and choose Keyframe Assistant Easy Ease to have the flash take a bit of time to grow and subside. To soften the edges, go to Effect, Blur and Sharpen, CC Radial Fast Blur. Now move the center to be the ellipse's center. And set the amount to 90. To soften it slightly, you could add a Gaussian blur too. Well, there you go. A slow, days-long effect in 1987, now possible in much less time. You could even say at warp speed. Or not. If you're interested in the rest of the series, where I show ways to recreate 2001 Stargate, 1974's Doctor Who, TNG's Warp Stars, and Star Wars Hyperspeed, well, then check out the rest of the series, I guess. Really? That was the best outro I could come up with? Not even a pun? If you have any better ideas for calls to action when wrapping up, then post in the comments. Please.